Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel today. We're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations round number 2, driving at Kyoto in reverse, a track that I've never really been on. I didn't do too much preparation for this race either, so wasn't really expecting much. I just wanted to get a base qualifying lap in because the limits were so strict. I think a lot of people pushed it a lot further than what I did. Managed to get myself in P9, which I wasn't too happy about because I had been a little bit faster, but I wasn't too worried because I didn't expect much from this race anyway. I just wanted to have some fun and see if I could battle my way up a little bit. I think I obviously had a little bit more potential because I had a race with TX3 Adam in a previous race, and we were fairly evenly matched, and I'd actually saved a bit more going into the pits in fuel, so I think we were about the similar type of pace. You can see qualifying in P9, was a few attempts down on what I should have been in qualifying, but like I said, I didn't want to take any risk because this track was so risky with the penalties. If you would have seen TRL Lightning, actually both his lap he got penalties on, so he ended up starting last in his race and then got bugs throughout the whole race. So I mean, that was nothing to do with his qualifying, obviously it was just the game giving him loads of bugs, but it just shows you, was it worth risking going for a higher qualifying spot? I really don't know, but starting P9, reasonably happy, and just got to try and keep it consistent. I knew I had the race pace to push a little bit further up and maybe get myself closer to maybe P6 or 7 or something like that. So the aim was just to keep it consistent, try and save some fuel in people's slipstreams, make moves when I felt that moves were on, and try and make progress in this race. Not expecting anything in the top 5. Obviously RC Zocchi's starting in P5. I think he was faster than me at this track. I really don't like the track, to be brutally honest. It's not my type of track. The other way round suits me, but this way round really just didn't suit me. So my aim for this race is to not get any penalties and just keep it on the track and try and make some progress, because I expected a lot of penalties in this race. I said it in my track guide. I expected a lot of people to be picking up penalties. So we're going to start the race. I'm going to jump on board with the TV cameras for the start, obviously for the first section of the race, the first lap, and we're going to watch the action unfold on lap 1 and see how clean it was on lap 1. So everyone in the Megane, pretty much, I think every single driver in the top split in the Megane clearly still needs a bit of a BOP change, this Megane. I think maybe they should just give it a 6% weight increase and see what happens. A massive weight increase, just see what happens. If it's too much, then they can adjust it. But at the moment, I think I would give it more weight and then add the power if it's too much, because it needs some serious weight because it's just too strong on the corners. And that's why everyone's using it. As you can see, going through the first lap, having to go defensive to the right hand side because I could see that car was having a little look, and I had to actually brake really late and try and hold the inside line, you could see, to defend that line, and came so close to the car in front but just got away with that and managed to hold on to my position and not lose too much time to the car ahead. So still in that slipstream and just trying to short shift, doing a lot of short shifting in the Megane. Obviously in the downhill section I was short shifting a lot because didn't lose too much acceleration when going down the hill. It's just on the uphill sections you kind of had to rev it out a little bit more, this Megane, because it has had them weight increases, which has affected it in terms of its straight line performance and uphill performance mainly as well. It hasn't really got the power to get up the hills as well, but going through the corners it's still just so overpowered. They really need to give it, like I say, I think give it 6% weight increase and just see how it fares with that. If that's too much, then start adding the power up by 1% at a time to get it to a state where it's a little bit more equal to the other Group 4 cars, because these Group 4 races, the majority of tracks, it's just coming out that the Megane is the car everyone's picking. But you can see putting some pressure on the car in front now, got a really nice line through that corner and had to lift off a little bit on the exit, you could see there, had to back out a little bit but managed to stay in the slipstream. Having a little look now, decided, do I make a move into this corner? He's picking up a slipstream off the car in front of him, I'm picking up the slipstream off that car, so he's having a little look on the inside. I'm going to go down the right hand side. I thought he was going to brake late but he didn't, so had to avoid turning in there, and still obviously no pressure from behind. The car was a bit too far back to really make a move myself, so now I'm just trying to have a little look, wait for an opening to appear, see if anyone makes a mistake and just try and keep it clean. You can see already a car's got a penalty in front of me, and I think cars had them behind me already, so straight away after lap 1 penalties are coming out, and it's showing you that it was just kind of a good idea. My tactic was just to keep it on the track and avoid taking any risks on any corners, especially this downhill section. There was a lot of time to be gained if you push the limits down here, but I just didn't want to risk it because it wasn't like it was giving you half a second penalty. it was more like 5 seconds if you did it too much. It was giving you quite a big penalty. So for me, it was best just to keep the car on the track and just play it safe. As again, picking that slipstream up, having a little look where I can make a move, and I'm having a little look on this inside here now, but couldn't really do anything there. Just decided to hold that tight line anyway, because the car handles so good on the inside there. It has plenty of grip, and it just enables me to get back in that slipstream. You can see picking up the slipstream and short shifting now in 6th gear, just making sure that I'm basically using as little revs as possible on this downhill section, because 6th gear also stopped the front end understeering a bit. So just trying to take it easy, save fuel, make sure I don't cut any corners. And you see the car behind obviously getting in on this action now as well, so it's getting incredibly close, this battle. And I'm going to have a little look at an overtake now. You can see the driver in front also having a little look and picking up the slipstream. I've got to the right hand side of the driver in front of me. He's going to have a move on the car. I do the undercut to try and go back on the inside of him. He outbrakes himself, so I'm going to cut back on the inside and follow the other McGann in front of me. A tiny bit of contact, but I give him space on the outside, and I managed to get that place. And the car behind me also takes advantage there of the mistake of the other driver of braking too late, and jumps up the inside and manages to make a move. But I think he then cut that corner a bit, another corner which was tricky where people were picking up a lot of penalties. But I've managed to hold on to this position now, and now I've got to try and get into the slipstream with the car in front, as the other car behind me tries to make a move on that exit of the corner, but just doesn't have the power out of the exit. And I've then picked up the slipstream of the car in front. You can see this car in front of me, V. Cristiano, was really struggling at this phase of the race. He just didn't have any speed. And you can see TX3 Adam pulling away and building a gap up. And that TX3 Adam's a driver that I had a reasonably good race with, had similar type of speed in a previous race to this, where we did it up to the pit stop. But this is really annoying because V. Cristiano is struggling. He's obviously trying to save a lot of fuel, but he's just not really got much race pace. And I didn't really want to race this like this, because I felt like the better way to race this was pushing reasonably hard but not worrying about fuel saving too much, because the McGann's really strong at this track when driving it aggressively. So I wanted to try and have a little look up on the inside here now, but he cuts that off quite early. That's fair enough, no issue with that. That was good defending. He saw me having a look there, but then again on the exit I've got such a good pull out of that corner, much better than P7. I actually give him a little nudge, but then go over to the right hand side after getting a little bit of slipstream, and I'm going to try and outbrake him on the outside of this corner and try and carry it around the outside. So braking really late, managed to get myself ahead and managed to get the braking spot on, keeping the line nice and tidy. But then he just runs me out of road and onto the grass, and nothing I could do at that stage. Once the rear's gone, obviously on that curb, no catching that, and back down to P18. I was a little bit frustrated, I was really angry at that point, but I decided just to get back on the track, try and settle down, try not to be too angry. We'll have a look at that incident at the end of the race. I'm not going to talk about it too much now, because I'm not too sure whether that was deliberate or not. I'm going to go through the evidence. I'm going to show you some things that could point to it being deliberate, but then it might not have been. I really have no idea, and I don't want to 100% accuse him of being a deliberate move, but there is some things that kind of point towards it. But we're not talking about that. We'll have a little look and just carry on with this race, as you see in P18, and just trying to now rescue some sort of result from this race, because I'm down in P18 and I lost a big chunk of time. I think I lost about 10, maybe 11 seconds to the leaders on that one single mistake. You can see I obviously spun round that to get back onto the track and rejoin. So a big loss now, and just got to try and concentrate on rescuing the DR, because I didn't want to lose too much driver rating before the manufacturer's race. So just again keeping it on the track, trying not to pick up any penalties. Luckily I didn't get a penalty for that incident. Obviously I didn't hit any walls, so got away with it really. And now I've just got to try and pick up this slipstream and get past P17 as soon as possible. I wasn't going to hang around with these overtakes. I wanted to, if there was an overtake on, I was just going to throw it up. I needed to get back up through the grid, and P17 was a fair bit slower than myself. So on the inside, I think he just let me through there. It looks like he stayed wide. He knew I was going for that move. He obviously understands that I had better pace than him in the race, so he let me through there. And now I've got to work my way back up to the car's head and just look at all the red penalty signs. Everyone has got penalties, so many penalties. It just shows you that what I was saying about this track in the track guide was correct. This track was going to be a Very similar type of race to Le Mans, where people are picking up penalties, having to get rid of them, and that's why I just wanted to keep it without getting any, because you could do it. It just meant not driving it as aggressively through the corners and not risking, you're probably about half a second a lap at least slower, but the chances of picking up a penalty through this section and other sections was just too high for myself, so I just wanted to keep it smooth, and actually did that reasonably well that time. Not actually that slow, it was actually reasonably okay, but now just got to concentrate on keeping obviously some reasonable pace but fuel saving as well, because I'm guessing them cars up ahead at this stage have been in slipstream, so they're probably going to be able to do some fuel saving while I've got to try and catch them and also try and do fuel saving. You can see Giorgio up ahead in the lead, and what was really interesting was at this stage now I'm about 19 seconds behind the leaders, obviously after that incident, and I think we'll have a little look at the finishing time, but the distance that I actually finished behind the leaders wasn't a massive amount more, so it shows my pace was actually okay, even though I was obviously fighting through traffic all the way to the end. But you're going to see now, I decided now I'm going to probably have to pit on lap 6 to try and do some sort of undercut and gain maybe a position in the pits, whether it would work. So final lap now, before I pit, I pretty much decided straight away that that's what I was going to do, because I expected to be catching P16 up before the end of this lap. So for going the pits, I'm guessing a lot of other drivers would do the same as well and try and do the undercut on other drivers, so that's what I was planning to do, and that's what I did. So let's just watch this lap unfold now as I try and pick up P16 slipstream and get closer to him. As we just have a little look up ahead there, and he nearly loses control of his car, P16, and nearly goes off and actually nearly spins it, but just gets away with it. But that's enabled me to then get in the slipstream. You can see I'm within about 8/10 of him now, so I'm starting to pick up a little bit of that slipstream, and then through this corner decided to drive it quite aggressively to try and pick up a little bit more of that slipstream, and did it really well. You could see picked up a big chunk of slipstream, 3/10 gained on him on that one corner, and I was actually doing that corner really well because I wasn't picking up penalties and I was doing it at an okay speed. So now trying to take that tight line through this corner, so the line I preferred through there, keeping it nice and tight to apex and staying on the power, and now right in that slipstream. You can see, so instead of over revving the car, I just decided there's no point, I can't overtake through this section, so I'll just go up into 6th gear and save some fuel and just sit behind them, because there's just no overtaking opportunities, any realistic overtaking opportunities anyway. So just keeping it smooth, going into the final corner. I knew I was going to pit on this lap, so just sitting behind him and then trying to take a tight line for that corner so I can stay on the power all the way into the pits. As you can see, he looks like he's staying now. He does have a little look to go in the pits there, but obviously I don't know if me being there put him off or whether he was going defensive or not. But into the pits, managed to save 40% fuel, a little bit more than some other drivers, but a little bit behind other drivers where they've been in that slipstream. So out the pits now, and one thing I didn't want to do was just use all my fuel up on this outlap. So continuing the short shifting, I think I could have gone really aggressive, but there was that many cars in front of me before I pitted. I felt that if I was to drive really aggressively, I might gain 1 or 2 positions, but I'm still going to be low on fuel. So it's probably best just to keep it smooth, not worry about the fuel, just try and keep the momentum going of not getting a penalty. That for me was more important than burning away my fuel and then coming to the end of the race and having none left. But you can see P16 really got a little bit loose through that corner then, but he's driving a lot more aggressively on his outlap. He pitted the same time as me, and I think he's gone a little bit more aggressive on this outlap, as he had used more fuel when he went in the pit, so he's probably going for a more aggressive approach to the race, as you can probably tell by the fact that he's got penalties as well, and so easy to pick the penalties up at this track. And at the moment, obviously coming up to about halfway through the race at this point, 6.5 laps, I haven't picked up a single penalty, so I was actually quite surprised because I hadn't done much practice for this race. That's why I just decided to take it fairly easy, and I said it in my track guide, I wasn't going to run the risk of picking up penalties. It was just, I hadn't put enough practice into driving this track flat out, that it was just too risky to do. So at this point, not really making any advances on P16. He's starting to pull away a bit where he's driving a little bit more aggressively than I am, and it's just, I'm in this weird position now where I'm in P17, not many other cars around me. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at the pit stop phase, because there was obviously some cars that didn't pit, and let's see where we come out now as we go. We were obviously down, we were in P17, let's see where we are when we come out the pits. in P16, so gained one position from that car that was in front of us, managed to jump him, and another car trying to get rid of his penalties there. He's obviously picked up too many penalties, getting rid of them on exit, so gained 2 positions from obviously before the pit stop phase. So now I've got that group of cars ahead of me still, but I just don't really have the fuel to burn. You can see the way I'm driving, I've drove pretty much the same from the start, just short shifting at about this point there, not really overdriving it, so I've got to really just keep similar all the way to the end and just hope that I can slowly catch some of these drivers up in front of me. I've done a reasonable job though of catching some of these up to at this point, because some of them cars were about 10 seconds ahead of me, 9 seconds ahead of me at the point of when I obviously ran off wide, or whether it was deliberate or an accident or whatever it was. But I think Reed Cristiano is one of the drivers just up ahead in that group of cars there, so it shows you that his pace just wasn't very good at all really. I was really confused because his qualifying lap was okay, but he clearly wanted to just go on a very fuel saving race and save the fuel and just try and do it that way. I don't feel it was the right way though, to be fair. I feel like driving a little bit more aggressively was probably, short shifting a bit, but driving reasonably aggressive was probably the better way to do this race. So up to P15, gained 3 positions from obviously that lap 3 incident, so not doing terribly, but I just need to get myself up a few more positions really. I wanted to get probably up to around, the aim at this point was getting at least maybe P11 or 12, because even then I was going to lose driver rating, and that was the main aim really. I wasn't really worried about points now, because this round is not going to be a round that counts towards my points at the end of the season. I hope it's not anyway. Obviously my aim is to be getting 2,300, 2,400 points, and at this stage in this race, this is looking like a very low points going round. So my main concentration now is just avoid losing as much driver rating as possible, because obviously when I get into the manufacturer race, the lower my driver rating, the less points that are going to be on offer in that race, because it averages out people's driver ratings, and then that's based on the points that you get in the race. So that's why it's always a good idea to have your own rating as high as possible before you enter these races. So that's why I'm now just thinking of that and not really worrying about the actual race in terms of points. So going through that corner really cleanly, just about picking up the slipstream of P14. That was a key point there, trying to get that slipstream. You can see 3 tenths up on this lap. Decided to push a little bit and use a bit more fuel to try and pick that slipstream up. Obviously the benefit of doing that is I'm going to obviously then be able to save fuel, but obviously you lose a bit of fuel in doing it, but it was quite easy to do, just a half a lap of pushing, and I've picked that slipstream up fairly comfortably, and now I can go back to short shifting, and I've got the advantage for slipstream. So worked out quite well that I've just burned a little bit of fuel away. You're going to see it in with the lap time that I do on this lap. I think it was back into the 141s, which I would have been expected to be really hitting if I was driving a little bit more aggressively in this race. I think that's the type of pace I would have been putting in if obviously I'd got past V Cristiano at the start without any incident. That's the type of laps I would have tried to be doing, revving out a little bit more, not worrying about the fuel too much. You see, going for a little move on the inside there, but decided to back out of that. There wasn't a move on, and another driver's had to back off there. Obviously picked up too many penalties, driving too aggressively on the corner cuts, and obviously had to start lifting because it was going up every sector. So I managed to get myself up a position now, and that's another position gain. So every little position helps you, and this is what I expected. A lot of cars to be backing out, having penalties and having issues like that. So far not too bad, and now I'm in a slipstream of another car. So the aim was to get past this car, and then hopefully at the finish line, you don't know what's going to happen. People with penalties maybe pick up another place or so, but driving reasonably consistent and still not managed to pick up a single penalty, which has been really good, and I was really happy with that. Keeping the car on the line, making sure making no errors. As the car in front of me goes a little bit wide, they're pushing really hard, and the car again behind me pushed too hard out that corner. You could see him running along the grass and probably picking up another penalty whilst doing that. So he's not having a good day, but this is why it was probably a safe option to just drive it really, sensibly around this track, and not run too many risks of picking up penalties. I felt like I could do 141.5s to 8s reasonably consistently without picking up penalties. That's why in the qualifying, the 41.7, I just didn't push it. Maybe I should have risked it a bit more in one lap, but my first lap wasn't particularly great. It was like a 42.0 or something, so I had to just do a reasonably clean lap on the next lap just to get myself into like I think it was, instead of P13, 14. But again, picking up that slipstream. Going to have a little look into this corner now. So picking up a big slipstream, going to pull out and have a little look down that inside. So decided to go for that. I had made quite good progress down that straight and quite an easy move in the end. Kept it nice and tight on the apex and managed to hold on to that position. So another position gained. And now I've just got to concentrate on holding this car off, making sure he can't get back past me. Obviously, he's got that slipstream, so he's going to be able to pick up a big amount of slipstream. And again, he's got that from that corner there, and he did have a little look on the outside here, but I just covered that off reasonably well, and then just tried to make sure I brake on the apex, get on the back on the power as early as possible, squaring the car off, and that's avoided any chance of him getting back up on the outside there. So managed to hold him off again through this section. And just got to try and keep it clean now all the way to the end. You can see, even with the battling that's been going on, I'm still catching them drivers up in front of me, so close to picking up some of them cars slipstream. And this is what a little bit frustrating with what happened at the start, because the pace was not brilliant. I'll 100% admit, it wasn't a great part. I didn't have the pace to be really doing too much of this track, but it was okay. It was reasonably good. You can see RC Zocky at this point of the race got the fastest lap on a 141.0. I've got 141.5, so only about half a second off his lap at that point, and I haven't really been burning the fuel that much. I haven't been over revving the car at all. I'm sure he hasn't either. I'm sure he was doing a lot of fuel saving as well at the front. But you can see the car behind me getting a massive slipstream down straight, but again, he's not able to make a move into this corner. Just trying to make sure I keep a solid line through this corner so I can get on the power reasonably early, and make sure then I can defend going into turn 1. Done that reasonably okay. It looks like he's a bit too far back to really make a dive into turn 1. He's picking up that slipstream, and he goes to the side to have a little look there, but he doesn't go for that move. However, I didn't realise what he was doing at that point. I was trying to think defensively, but he didn't go for the move. So I think he was possibly trying to get rid of some of his penalties by braking early down the straight and stuff, just to get rid of it. I don't know how many penalties he had, but look at the cars in front of me. It's like every single car is flashing red that you see on the track. There is pretty much no cars in front of me that haven't got a penalty. This is what I was, this is one of the reasons why it is a good idea just to keep it smooth, because it was so easy. The issue with this track was where the corner cuts was, it wasn't like a half a second penalty. It was like a 4 second or a 3 second or a 5 that you were picking up, so it wasn't worth risking getting them type of penalties. As the car behind still picking up that slipstream. Two laps to go now to the end of the race, and just trying to concentrate on keeping this position. I'm in P13, obviously not where I'd want to be at this stage of the race, starting from P9, but with the incident that happened, I can't really complain. I've gained 5 positions, I've kept it clean, I've kept out of trouble, I've not got any penalties, so now it's just keep it clean, get to the end of the race and see with the cars in front of me, the amount of penalties they had, it's why it wasn't really worth me risking getting penalties myself as well, because there's some of them cars that are going to probably have to stop at the finishing line, and who knows how much penalties they've got. It looks like one of the cars hasn't got a penalty also there in P11. He looks like he hasn't got any penalties, so let's see what happens on this final lap now. As you can see, P13 having a little look, P14 sorry, having a look, he's getting in the slipstream. I'm going to go defensive, but he gets rid of the penalty there. He brakes early, and I didn't see it. I braked incredibly late and nearly outbroke myself. You can see just about kept it on the track, and he then gives him then the inside line into the corner. So we're going side by side on the final lap into the first chicane, but managing to hold that inside line, and also kept really good speed through this. You can see managed to keep it on the track without getting a penalty, and took reasonably good speed all the way through. So luckily got away with that. I just wasn't paying attention. I thought that he was going to go for the move, so I was concentrating on looking at the apex, and then totally missed my braking point and ran really wide, but luckily stamped on the brake and downshifted into second, and just managed to rotate the car before the end of the tarmac run out and stop the car going off the track. So got away with that one. Obviously losing time with this battling that's going on, but still staying close to them cars in front, not losing too much time to them. So it really does show you that the pace was there to be a lot further up in the race, but I wasn't too worried. It's still an enjoyable race, obviously fighting back through and trying to get some positions back. So now I've just got to concentrate on these last few corners, making sure I don't pick up any penalties. Looking ahead there's cars battling away, really going side by the looks of it. You can see a car having a look on the inside there, and let's have a little look, as it looks like there's some sort of contact up ahead. A car's gone off into the wall and he's been pushed all the way down the side, and that's V Cristiano. the driver that I had the incident with. So it just shows you that that's how close I'd caught back up to him. So my race pace was a lot better, and I think that definitely I would have been looking at around P7 or P6, I think, for the thing. I don't think I would have got ahead of that. But going over the line, 2 other cars gained positions at the end. So into P10, where penalties, people trying to get rid of penalties, and only 1.9 seconds ahead of the car in front of me, because obviously he had issues. But look at that, I was only 19 seconds behind the leader after the incident that happened, and I only finished 25 seconds behind. So I only lost about 5-6 seconds in pretty much 8 or 9 laps. So the pace wasn't too bad. I was obviously driving to keep it clean. You can see everyone else bar myself and one other driver had a penalty. But let's have a little look at this. This was the incident with V Cristiano, and there's going to be something that I'm going to point out to you now, where it looks like he straightened the car up towards the exit of the corner and just pushed me off. So we'll have a look on the slow motion and pay attention to the steering angle, which is the little dot above the speed that you can see. There's a little red dot, shows you the steering inputs. Now at this point, keep an eye on that. He's at full rotation on the steering angle, and his throttle's not on full, but he puts the throttle onto full a little bit too early, I think. But watch the steering angle also. There's a change towards the exit of the corner when I'm still at the side of him. You can see now he straightens the car up with a little movement, just that little tiny movement there, and it pushes me wide. And that's what makes me wonder if it was on purpose, and if he was just squeezing me wide or not. I really don't know. I'm not going to accuse him. I really have no idea. I can't say for sure whether he did it on purpose, but the evidence does say that there was something a little bit weird with it. You can see again from his view, if he was using his view, I don't know, he could see me on the outside there, he would have seen my front tyre, and he would have seen me in the mirror as well. So unless if he's using the cockpit view, then it would have been very hard to see me, admittedly. But the little bit of movement on that steering angle really shows me, and again, this picture kind of shows me why I felt like I deserved the space. This was towards the end of the corner. I had half my car alongside him, so I feel like I had earned some space on that right hand side, but I didn't get any. But that's the way racing goes. I ended up coming out a lot worse and ended up down in P18, so I had to do a little bit of a fight back. Managed to get myself back to P10, so not the biggest loss. I think I only lost a couple of hundred driver ratings, so not too worried, and moved on to the manufacturer race, which was a really good race. I cannot wait to upload that tomorrow. Another really exciting race all the way to the finishing line. It was some really good battling, some mistakes in it, but it was just thoroughly entertaining, and I think you're going to enjoy that one. A real fun race to race in, and my first race in the AMG GT3 since obviously the new tyre model, and I was really happy with it. It's still not the fastest car down the straights, however I think the tyre model helps with the tyre wear with that car. It feels reasonably consistent all the way through the stint. It doesn't have any massive moments of being really fast, but it doesn't lose a lot of speed, and I think you'll see that in the racing. There's also some I can't believe how fast some of the cars are on when they get in the slipstream. You're going to see it in tomorrow's video. Insane speeds on some of these Group 3 cars once they get in the slipstream. Anyway, that'll be tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Also, click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. And let me know in the comment section what you think about that incident. I'm not going to say either way. You decide. It might not have been deliberate. It might have been. I have no idea. So you talk away and see what you think in the comment section. And also give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. And I'll be back very soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.